In this lesson, we'll take a quick tour around the Visio window. This is, after all, the workspace that we'll be working with throughout this course, so I want to identify the elements of that workspace. We'll start more or less in the upper left-hand side of the Visio window. This up here is the quick access toolbar. It's where you can get access to commands, and those commands will always be available no matter what tab you're in the ribbon. You can also customize this, and we'll look at how to do that later on in this course. Underneath it is the ribbon. We'll take a separate lesson and talk specifically about the ribbon, but the ribbon is your collection of commands. We'll be dealing with this many times. And now just below it, we get to really the meat and potatoes of the Visio window, which is by default divided into two panes or panels or windows. You'll hear me refer to these areas by each of the three names throughout this course, and there's really no right or wrong way to refer to these things. But again, on the left-hand side, you have the Shapes panel or the Shapes window. This is where you have a collection of shapes that you can add to your Visio drawing. And then over on the right-hand side, this is the Drawing panel or the Drawing window. Now, if you're coming from a previous version of Visio, you may notice right away that the grid that's normally there is no longer there in the 2013 version. This is something that's been done across the Office suite of applications in trying to clean up the interface as much as possible. So if you want the grid there, you have to go to the View tab of the ribbon, and then in the Show Collection of Commands, you can enable the grid if you like to. So I'm going to go back to Home and continue our guided tour. So as I was saying, this is the Drawing panel. You have the rulers at the top and to the side to give you some orientation about where you are in your drawing in terms of the scale. Below that, we have this blue area at the very bottom, and this is the status bar. And many of the things in the status bar are clickable. Some of them are just informational, such as our orientation here, the width, height, and angle. But we also have this zoom slider, so we can zoom in, we can zoom out, and then it tells us here what our current level of zoom is. So this can also be given a click, and we can change the magnification from here. Beside our zoom slider, we have these two buttons here, switching windows and fit page to current window, and that's pretty self-explanatory. That zooms to fit, and that's something that you'll probably use quite often when you're doing your drawing. You'll just zoom to fit your available space in the drawing window. Finally, to the left of the zoom slider here, you have this little button, which is the presentation mode. If you give it a click, you then look at your Visio diagram in full screen mode, as you can see here. And to toggle back to the drawing window, you can hit the escape key on your keyboard and go back to the standard interface. Now, if you want to reduce visual clutter at all, if you don't like those buttons in the status bar, you can give the status bar a right click, and with the context menu that appears, you can change any of the options you have in the status bar just by giving these a click. So if you don't want to see the page numbers, for example, you give that a click, it goes away. If you right click again and put the check next to page number, there is the page number once again. So that's the orientation for the Visio window, and of course this will come in handy as we continue on.